significance for India. 15M42 All. Insights on India. Com. GS theme. Indian economy. Competitiveness roadmap for India at 100. Context. Economic Advisory Council 2 p.m. and Institute for Competitiveness has released Roadmap for Better Growth India at 100 to enable India to become a high-income country by 2047 using sector and region-specific policies based on the 4S principle. Shared prosperity. Opportunities should be shared across every section of society. Social prosperity, i.e., economic growth, should match social development. Sustainable prosperity, i.e., economic progress, should be environmentally sustainable. Solid prosperity, economic system should be resilient to shocks. How to remember it? Take this analogy. When you move into a new colony, you share something, e.g., food or time, in order to socialize. Constant socialization makes your friendship sustainable, and in the longer term, this sustainable relation becomes solid. Challenges to India's growth and sustainability. Rising inequality, low labor force participation. For women, growth has not matched job creation, jobless growth, rising geopolitical and climate change issues. Solutions suggested by the report for 4S. Structural Transformation 2.0, creating new jobs using sector-specific and region-specific initiatives, e.g. PLI for different sectors, mega food parks for different regions, convergence of programs and initiatives, including public-private participation, reduce social and institutional barriers for citizens, e.g. reducing discrimination in jobs, increasing safety for women, ease traveling experiences, e.g. women given free transport in Delhi. DTC buses enable competition in the market, e.g. greater competition in e-commerce is profitable for citizens. As per the World Bank classification of countries based on income level, for GNI per capita in current USD. What more is needed? Focus on digital aspects, where India has a comparative advantage. Supply chain diversification away from China, moving to a net zero economy and harnessing green initiatives as a source of investment and innovation. Developing skills and capabilities, improving employability, augmenting infrastructure, reducing logistics and other business costs through better center-state coordination, enhancing the quality of governance, improve data use and privacy, functioning of courts and police. Insta-links, economic growth vs development. Mains link, Q. Economic growth is a precondition for inclusive growth, do you agree? Analyze. 250 words. Prelims link Q. With reference to the Indian economy after the 1991 economic liberalization, consider the following statements. UPSC 2021. Worker productivity per worker at 2004-05 prices increased in urban areas while it decreased in rural areas. Though the percentage share of rural areas in the workforce steadily increased. Theme. In rural areas, the growth in the non-farm economy increased. 4. The growth rate in rural employment decreased. Which of the statements given above are correct? 8 1 and 2 only, B 3 and 4 only, C 3 only, D 1, 2, and 4 only. Answer B. Q. Economic growth in country X will occur if UPSC 2013 A. There is technical progress in the world economy. B. There is population growth in X. C. There is capital formation in X. D. The volume of trade grows in the world economy. Answer C. OP payment charges. Context. Recently, RBI came out with a discussion paper seeking stakeholder views on charges in payment systems. Most other modes of digital retail payments attract a charge on transactions. But the government has mandated a zero charge framework for OP transactions from 2020, meaning charges on OP for users as well as merchants on all. Insights on India. Com 43. MDR Anil. Government's view, terming OP services as a digital public good, Finance Ministry clarified that there is no consideration in the government to levy any charges for Unified Payments Interface (OP) services. Digital public goods are public goods in the form of software, data sets, AI models, etc. that contribute to sustainable national and international digital development. RBI's view. It views that subsidy on these payments may have to be withdrawn as digital payment increases, thus increasing the subsidy burden. RBI had asked stakeholders if the merchant discount rate (MDR) fee paid by merchants to acquiring banks should be brought back for OP transactions. MDR, or merchant discount rate, on OP transactions, has been a long-standing demand in the payments industry. Recently, the RBI allowed OP on credit cards as well, starting with NPCI's RuPay cards. Benefits of charges on OP and MDR. It will boost the payment system as more private investors will be pitching in. Save government finances on subsidies. The government allocated 200 crore rupees for reimbursement of charges towards RuPay debit card and OP transactions. In 2021-22, it had budgeted 1,500 crore rupees towards this. Demerits. It will discourage booming OP transactions by citizens. It will dampen the digital ecosystem based on OP MDR. What is OP? Unified Payments Interface (OP) is an instant real-time payment system. Allows users to transfer money on a real-time basis across multiple bank accounts without revealing details of one's bank account to the other party. OP is currently the biggest among the National Payments Corporation of India (NPCI) operated systems, including National Automated Clearing House (NAC), Immediate Payment Service (IMPS), Aadhaar Enabled Payment System (APS), Bharat Bill Payment System (BBPS), RuPay etc. Links OP. Mains links Q. India's progress in payment systems will provide a useful backbone to make a state-of-the-art central bank digital currency (CBDC), but challenges remain. Discuss. 250 words. ILO World Social Protection Report 2020-22. Context. ILO recently released a report specific to Asia and the Pacific. Key findings. No access to social protection. Almost 53% of the population in the world has no social protection, 56% in the Asia Pacific, and in India over 76%. Bangladesh has a higher pratishat of people under social protection, have no social protection, spending on social protection. World average is 12.9%, 12.9, while that in India is just 8.6%, 8.6. Economic survey further elaborates that in 2021-22, India's social security spending lower than 5% of GDP per capita. Recommendation: follow a high road development path and make social protection inclusive. Basics: social protection is designed to prevent deprivation, give assurance of a basic minimum income, and protect the individual from any uncertainties. It includes measures related especially to old age, unemployment, sickness, disability, work injury, maternity, or the loss of the primary breadwinner. Few government steps: Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana (PMJ), National Health Policy 2017, Social Security Code 2020, PM Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana (PMGKY), One Nation One Ration Card, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, and MGNREGA. About ILO. ILO is a specialized agency of the United Nations. It is the only tripartite UN agency, bringing together governments, employers, and workers of 187 member states. It sets labor standards, develops policies, and devises programs promoting decent work. Insta links: Labor Code Bill. Mains links: Q. The universalization of Social Security remains an unsatisfied aspiration in the new Code on Social Security. Critically analyze. 250 words. Prelims links Q. What is are the facilities the beneficiaries can get from 44O? Insights on India. Com. The services of business correspondent Bank Sathi in branchless areas. UPSC 2014-1. It enables the beneficiaries to draw their subsidies and social security benefits in their villages. Though it enables the beneficiaries in rural areas to make deposits and withdrawals. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. Both 1 and 2, D. Neither 1 nor 2 answer, C. God's push for international trade in rupee. Why and how? Current system. Most of the trade currently is in US dollars, wherein an importer needs to pay in US dollars to pay for the import of goods to India, and an exporter gets paid in the dollar, which he then converts into Indian rupee for use in India. Working on payment system in INR. To settle trade transactions with any country, banks in India would open Vostro accounts of correspondent bank S of the partner country for trading. Indian importers can pay for their imports in INR into these accounts. These earnings from imports can then be used to pay Indian exporters in INR. A Vostro account is an account that a correspondent bank holds on behalf of another bank. For example, the HSBC Vostro account is held by SBI in India. Benefits of trading in the rupee. Enable trading with Russia and Iran, increases India's exports imports, check dollar outflow, reduces fear of BOP crisis, slow the depreciation of the rupee. This builds investors' confidence, promote the growth of global trade with emphasis on exports from India, and support the increasing interest of the global trading community in INR. Mitigates the risk of contagion due to the economic crisis in the US. Government measures. RBI has put in place an additional arrangement for invoicing, payment, and settlement of exports imports in INR. Limitations. The arrangement was not expected to help arrest the fall of the rupee to any significant extent. Not all countries may agree to trade in rupee as the credibility of the rupee is lower than the US dollar. Confidence in Indian rupee is low in the world economy. Instalinks, RBI allows global settlement in rupees. Mains links, Q. Even as India and Russia explore new relationships, they continue to remain each other's all-weather friends. Comment. Thus M. Prelims links Q. The problem of international liquidity is related to the non-availability of UPSC 2015 A. Goods and services B. Gold and silver C. Dollars and other hard currencies D. Exportable surplus answer C. Q. The balance of payments of a country is a systematic record, UPSC 2013, A. All import and export transactions of a country during a given period of time. Normally a year. B. Goods exported from a country during a year. C. Economic transaction between the government of one country to another. D. Capital movements from one country to another. Answer A. Insolvency and bankruptcy. Context. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India notified the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India liquidation process, Second Amendment Regulations, 2022 in Insolvency and Bank of Insights on India. Com 45. RUPSI Board of India Voluntary Liquidation Process, Second Amendment Regulations, 2022. Objective: to enable better participation of stakeholders, streamline the liquidation process to reduce delays, realize better value. Key amendments. The Committee of Creditors (COC) it shall function as the Stakeholders Consultation Committee (SCC) in the first 60 days after adjudication of claims and within 60 days of initiation of the process. The SCC shall be reconstituted based upon admitted claims. Mandatory meeting. The liquidator has been mandated to conduct the meetings of SCC in a structured and time-bound manner. Scope of mandatory consultation by the liquidator, with SCC, enlarged. Now, SCC may even propose the replacement of the liquidator to the adjudicating authority AA and fix the fees of the liquidator, if the COG did not fix the same during CIRP. Claim not filed during the liquidation process. The amount of claim collated during CIRP shall be verified by the liquidator. Process of compromise. If COG decides the process of compromise or arrangement during the liquidation process, the liquidator shall file the application in such cases before the adjudicating authority within 30 days of the order of liquidation. Specific event-based timelines, stipulated for the auction process. Advisory role by SCC before filing an application, dissolution or closure, the manner in which proceedings in respect of avoidance transactions or fraudulent or wrongful trading, shall be pursued after the closure of liquidation proceedings. Manner and period of retention of records relating to liquidation and voluntary liquidation of a corporate debtor or corporate person, respectively. Instalinks, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Mains links, Q. Public expenditure management is a challenge to the Government of India in the context of budget making during the post-liberalization period. Clarify it. UPSC 2019. Infrastructure. National Logistics Policy. Context. India has unveiled its National Logistics Policy (NLP) with the aim of promoting the seamless movement of goods and enhancing the competitiveness of the industry. The National Logistics Policy was also announced in the budget for 2022-23. India ranked 44th in World Bank Logistics Performance Index 2018. Gujarat has topped the logistics ease across different states leads 2021 index. Need. The logistics cost in India, about 13 to 14%, is high as compared to other developed economies, 8%. India's logistics sector is highly defragmented and very complex. This sector provides employment to more than 22 million people and is expected to grow at the rate of 10.5% over the next 5 years. Logistics is also the backbone of India's international trade and will help in the diversification of not only India's export basket but also of products and countries. Aimed reducing costs for the logistics sector to 10% in 5 years. Develop skills among youth and create employment opportunities. Promote the seamless movement of goods and enhance the competitiveness of the industry across the nation. Focus on some key areas like process re-engineering, digitization and multimodal transport. Four major steps under National Logistics Policy: integration of digital system IDs, different systems of seven different departments such as road transport, railway, customs, aviation, foreign trade and commerce ministries will be integrated digitally. Unified Logistics Interface Platform ULIP. It will also lead to improving shorter and smooth cargo movement. It will also enable information exchange on a real-time basis in a confidential manner. NICDCS National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation Logistics Data Bank project has been leveraged to develop ULIP. Ease of Logistics ELOG. It will simplify the rules and ease 46O. Insights on India. The logistics business. System Improvement Group SIG monitoring all logistics related projects regularly and tackling all obstacles. Other steps taken by the government. The logistics division in the Commerce Department has been created. Gati Shakti Scheme Bharatmala program building about 84,000 kilometers of new highways. Sagarmala project unlock the potential of the country's 5,000 kilometers coastline and 14,500 kilometers of navigable waterways railways. Freight corridors. Previously, the government plans to replace the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act, 1993 MMTG, with a National Logistics Efficiency and Advancement Predictability in Safety Act NLEAPS. Insta links. Logistics sector in India. Mains links Q. A push towards logistics, prioritizing government measures to reduce India's extremely high logistics costs, plethora of regulations, poor connectivity and distribution challenges as the current need of the hour. Elucidate. 15M. Indian Ports Bill 2022. Context. The Union Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways is holding 4 rounds of consultations on the draft Indian Ports Bill 2022 that will replace the 1908 Act. Background. Major ports figure in the Union list and come under the jurisdiction of the central government. Non-major ports. They are in the concurrent list and come under the respective state governments, but the center has overriding legislative and executive powers. 2021 Draft Bill. Empower MSDC. It sought to empower the Maritime State Development Council MSDC to formulate a national plan for the development of major and non-major ports. Enquiry. To order an appropriate enquiry if any port contravenes the national plan. Empowered the center. to make a port non-operational if it was not in consonance with the national plan. Penalties. It prescribed penalties including imprisonment for non-compliance with the MSDC's directions by port authorities, port officials and other persons. Monitoring. Problems of the 2021 draft bill. Maritime State Development Council MSDC. The MSDC serves as an apex advisory body for the coordinated development of major ports and non-major ports. It has met only 18 times in the last 25 years. Chapters 2 and III giving statutory status to the MSDC. A body like the MSDC is necessary, but the nature and quantum of its work do not call for either statutory status or a permanent body. Maritime states, there is a fear that the real aim of a statutory cum permanent MSDC is to curtail states' powers to develop and manage non-major ports. Central Planning and Inspector Raj. The 2021 draft contained several provisions that were a replay of the socialist era follies of Central Planning and Inspector Raj. Issues with the 2022 draft bill. Statutory body. It has retained the MSDC as a statutory cum permanent body. Section 10C. It authorizes the central government to entrust any administrative and financial functions to the MSDC. In center's favor. In order to ensure that the composition of the MSDC is in favor of the center, the draft bill makes 5 secretaries and 1 joint secretary to the Government of India. Administrators of the coastal UTS as members. What should be done? Chapters 2 and 3. It is recommended that Chapters 2 and 3 of the draft bill relating to the MSDC be scrapped and that the MSDC remain an apex advisory body. Port reform strategies. In keeping with port reform strategies worldwide, the center should work towards greater decentralization, deregulation, corporatization, and private sector participation. Equity stake to maritime states. It should give the concerned maritime states and city municipal corporations a substantial equity stake in corporatized major ports. Higher functions. It should limit itself to overseeing only the higher functions of border control, competition policy, port security, environment protection, and hinterland connectivity. Status of Indian ports. Indian ports have already reached their saturation and India needs more new ports. Between 1993-94 and 2021-22, the share of the total cargo of non-major ports went up from 8% to 45%. Public-private partnership PPP. Maritime states developed non-major ports almost entirely on a public-private partnership PPP basis. Example: Gujarat, India's first private port at Pipavav. World Bank Report 2011 Regulation of the Indian port sector observed that non-major ports are perceived as more business-oriented, customer-friendly, cheaper and in general awe. Insights on India. Com 47. More efficient. Though unnecessary regulatory and financial burdens are imposed upon port trusts, private terminal operators and investors, by the central government. Insta links. Draft Indian Port Bill 2022, Sagarmala Project. Mains links, Q. Explain how private-public partnership arrangements, in long gestation infrastructure projects, can transfer unsustainable liabilities to the future. What arrangements need to be put in place to ensure that successive generations' capacities are not compromised? UPSC 2014. The Draft Telecommunication Bill 2022. Context: the Ministry of Communications released a draft of the Indian Telecommunication Bill 2022 for public comments. The three main legislations that occupy this domain: Indian Telegraph Act 1885, Indian Wireless Telegraphy Act 1933, Telegraph Wires Unlawful Possession Act 1950. What is the draft Indian Telecommunication Bill 2022? Update the extant regulatory framework. The draft is to update the extant regulatory framework in keeping with the advancements and challenges in the sector. Repeal legislation. It looks to repeal three legislations and restructure the legal and regulatory framework for the telecommunications sector, enabling the government to order the suspension of internet power. It has been introduced through the draft bill. Currently, the suspension of internet services is ordered under the Temporary Suspension of Telecom Services Public Emergency and Public Safety Rules 2017. The primary route for allocation of the spectrum is the auction. When the spectrum is to be allocated for certain functions of the government, such as defense or transportation, TSP exploits its spectrum resource fully by enabling sharing, trading, leasing, surrendering, or returning unutilized spectrum. Simplifies. The bill also simplifies the process of restructuring, merging, or demerging land owned by a public entity. It mandates that land owned by a public entity should be available expeditiously unless there is an express ground of refusal. Universal Service Obligation Fund. It allows this fund to be utilized for other purposes such as urban areas connectivity, research at sea, over the top OTT communication services. It refers to services that provide real time person to person telecommunication services. Some popular examples include messaging platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, Messenger, Duo, Google Meet, etc. How does the draft affect over the top communication services? Telecom service providers TSPs, they provide network infrastructure to OTTs. They allege it will cut their sources of revenue, voice calls, SMS, as they will not have to deal with the infrastructure and licensing costs they have undertaken. OTT telecommunication services may be subject to the same licensing conditions as TSPs. The current draft of the bill expands the definition of telecommunication services to include OTT communication services. Consumer protection measures in the draft bill. The identity of the person communicating through telecommunication services. It shall be available to the user receiving such communication. The name of the person would also be displayed along with the phone no. To ensure that a user provides correct details, penalize providing wrong identification details with a 50,000 rupees fine and suspending the operation of the specific mobile number or barring the person from using the telecom service for a certain duration. Consent of subscribers. Commercial communications which are advertising and promotional in nature should be made only with the prior consent of a subscriber. How does the draft bill impact the position of the TRAI? Recommendatory body. Reducing it from a regulatory to a recommendatory body. No recommendations for licenses. The government would no longer be required to seek recommendations from the tribe before issuing licenses. Requisition of information. It removes the power of the TRAI to requisition from the government information or documents that are necessary to make such recommendations. Reconsideration. Department of Telecommunications. Will no longer be required to refer back to try the recommendations for reconsideration. Install links. Net neutrality. Try. Mains links. Q. What is the Cyberdom project? Explain how it can be useful in controlling internet crimes in India. UPSC 2019. Prelims links. Q. In India, which of the following reviews the independent regulators in sectors like telecommunications, insurance, electricity, etc.? UPSC 2019 48 O. Insights on India. Com. Ek. Ad hoc committee set up by the Parliament 2. Parliamentary Department Related Standing Committees 3. Finance Commission 4. Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission 5. NITI Aayog select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 and 2, B. 1, 3 and 4, C. 3, 4 and 5, D. 2 and 5 ans. A. The road to energy security. The IEA defines energy security as the uninterrupted availability of energy sources at an affordable price. What does India need to do to achieve energy security by 2040? Focus on self-reliance and not self-suf. Efficiency as self-suf. Efficiency may not be feasible and economical. Access to fossil fuels, as the transition to a green energy system is a lengthy, time-taking and costly process. GAIL is investing in the development of a national gas pipeline grid. India must expand its strategic petroleum reserves to cover at least 30 days of consumption. Access to critical materials needed for green energy, e.g., minerals components copper, cobalt, lithium, semiconductor chips etc. Required to build EVs, solar panels, wind turbines and batteries. Offer green incentives to encourage private participation. E.g., a production linked incentive scheme (PLI) offers benefits for investment in green energy. Demand management. Energy usage norms must be standardized and tightened. Legislation should be properly enacted to ensure compliance. Retraining and upskilling. S. In the upcoming green energy sector, energy diplomacy. Success in navigating economic and geopolitical uncertainties will depend greatly on skillful diplomacy. Holistic governance. Institutions should be created to facilitate integrated energy planning and implementation. Mains links. Q. Discuss the ways that India can achieve energy security and strategic autonomy in the energy sector by 2040. A push for the semiconductor industry. Try. Context. In a bid to make India's $10 billion chip making initiative more attractive to investors, the government approved changes to the scheme for the development of a semiconductor and display manufacturing ecosystem in the country. What are semiconductors? A semiconductor is a substance that has specific electrical properties that enable it to serve as a foundation for computers and other electronic devices. Importance. It is the building block of almost every modern electronic device from smartphones to connected devices in the Internet of Things (IoT). The global semiconductor industry is currently valued at $500 to $600 billion and caters to the global electronics industry currently valued at about $3 trillion. What are semiconductor chips? Semiconductors are materials which have a conductivity between conductors and insulators. They can be pure elements, silicon or germanium or compounds. Gallium, arsenide or cadmium selenide. Significance of semiconductor chips. They are the basic building blocks that serve as the heart and brain of all modern electronics and information and communications technology products. These chips are now an integral part of contemporary automobiles, household gadgets, and essential medical devices such as ECG machines. Components of semiconductor chip. The basic component of a semiconductor chip is a sliver of silicon, which is etched with billions of microscopic transistors to control the flow of current. The most advanced semiconductor technology nodes are available today are the 3 nanometer, and the 5 nanometers ones. Semiconductors having higher nanometer value are applied in automobiles, consumer electronics, and so on, while those with lower values are used in devices such as smartphones and laptops. Issues with the semiconductor chip making industry. Shortage of chips, due to pandemic-induced closure of factories, US-China tension in Taiwan, the Russia-Ukraine war disrupting the supply chain, and rising demand. Oh, insights on India. Com 49. The chip making industry is a highly concentrated one. 90% of 5 nanometer chips are mass produced in Taiwan by the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company TSMC. So, governments all over the world are trying to create their domestic chip making industry. Indian government steps. 2021 ratio $10 billion production linked incentive PLI scheme to encourage semiconductor and display manufacturing in the country. Fiscal support for a design linked initiative DLI scheme to drive global and domestic investment related to design software, IP rights at sea. Modifications in Program for Development of Semiconductors and Display Manufacturing Ecosystem in India. The Union Cabinet has approved a uniform incentive of 50% of the project cost for setting up semiconductor, display and compound semiconductor fabrication units. India Semiconductor Mission ISM will be set up scheme for setting up compound semiconductors facilities. Vedanta and Taiwanese chipmaker Foxconn will set up a 1 rupee 54,000 crore semiconductor plant in Gujarat. What are the challenges? A. High investments required. One semiconductor fab requires an investment of anywhere between $3 and $7 billion to minimal fiscal support from government. 3. Lack of fab capacities. 4. Insufficient grants under PLI scheme. 5. Resource inefficient sector. 6. Chip production is a resource intensive and expensive process. 7. Chip making also requires gallons of ultrapure water in a single day. Install links. India's semiconductor dream. Mains links Q. Given its scientific and strategic significance, India needs to be far more ambitious in creating a domestic semiconductor industry on a war footing. Discuss. 250 words. Road accidents in India. Context. The recent unfortunate death of Cyrus Mistry, former chairman of Tata Sons, has put a spotlight on road accidents in India. Status. As per the latest NCRB data, deaths in road accidents up by 17% in 2021. 1.55 lakh people died in accidents on Indian roads, up from 21.33 lakh in 2020. A maximum number of cases were reported in Tamil Nadu. Reasons. Speeding accounted for over half of all deaths, while dangerous and careless driving caused over 42,000 deaths. Mechanisms to prevent death in a car accident. The 3-point seat belt is a low-cost restraint system that prevents occupants of a vehicle from being thrown forward in a crash. Seat belt slows the occupant at the same rate as the vehicle, distributing the physical force in a crash across the stronger parts of the body such as the pelvis and chest. The Road Transport Ministry said that during 2017, a shocking 26,896 people lost their lives due to the non-use of seat belts, with 16,876 of them being passengers. Seat belt jod airbag. Even if the vehicle is fitted with an airbag, the force at which an unrestrained occupant strikes the airbag can cause serious injuries. So, the seatbelt works in tandem with the airbag. Airbag deployment reduced mortality by 63%. IIT Delhi study, head restraints, which are found either as adjustable models or molded into the seats, prevent a whiplash injury, sudden backwards and forward movement of head and collision. Indian regulation. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways issued a draft notification providing for 3-point seat belts to be provided in all vehicles up to 8-seater vehicles. The amended Motor Vehicles Act of 2019 requires the occupants of a passenger vehicle to wear a seat belts for driver and passenger, or else there's a fine. Evidently, although cars are equipped with seat belts, the enforcement for rear seat occupants is virtually absent in India. What should be done? Institute evidence-based, India-specific and effective road safety policies, better road design and maintenance of road and traffic infrastructure, removal of medians on intercity highways and replacement with steel guardrails or wire rope barriers, awareness of the use of seat belts and installing airbags, use of the European Union's General Safety Regulation that requires new vehicles to incorporate advanced emergency braking technology that launches automatically when a collision is imminent. 50O. Insights on India. Com. Insta links. Editorial. Road accidents. Mains links. Q. Road traffic accidents are a leading cause of death in India, and a major contributor to socio-economic losses, disability burden, and hospitalization. Discuss 15M. Agriculture. Growing water crisis and one water approach. OA. Context. In view of the water crisis and the issue of management, OA has been formulated. Status of water crisis. UN has estimated that by the year 2050, 4 billion people will be seriously affected by water shortages, which might lead to multiple conflicts between countries over water sharing. 31 countries are already facing a shortage of water, and by 2025, there will be 40 facing a shortage of water, and by 2025, there will be 48 countries facing serious water shortages. India Global Drought Risk and Water Stress Map 2019 shows that major parts of India, particularly west, central and parts of peninsular India, are highly water stressed and experience water scarcity. NITI Aayog Report, Composite Water Management Index, 2018, more than 600 million people facing acute water shortages. Impact of water crisis. Rural-urban water disputes are very likely to occur as scarcity grows, exacerbated by climate change, triggers sectoral and regional competition, e.g. water disputes between countries. Silent crisis of a global dimension, with millions of people being deprived of water to live and sustain their livelihood. Need for one water approach or failure to value water in all its forms is considered a prime cause of the mismanagement of water. UN World Water Development Report 2021, published by UNESCO on behalf of the UN Water. Characteristics of OA. The mindset that all water has value, from the water resources in our ecosystems to our drinking water, wastewater and stormwater. A multifaceted approach means that our water related investments should provide economic, environmental, and societal returns. Utilizing watershed scale thinking in action that respects and responds to the natural ecosystem, geology, and hydrology of an area. Partnerships and inclusion. All stakeholders come forward and together will take a decision. Objectives: reliable, secure, clean water supplies, aquifer recharge, flood protection, minimizing environmental pollution, efficient use and reuse of natural resources, resiliency to climate, long-term sustainability. Insights on India. COM 51. Equity, affordability and accessibility to safe drinking water, economic growth and prosperity. Significance. A. One water approach is key to combating urban challenges, managing resources shift needed from single-minded, linear water management to multidimensional integrated water management technique. Or, also known as integrated water resource management, is superior to the conventional water management approach. Conventional water management approach. One water approach. Drinking water, wastewater and stormwater are managed separately. All the water systems, regardless of their source, are managed in a connected way and given equal worth. One-way route from supply to use, treatment and disposal. Water is recycled and reused several times. Use of stormwater not considered. Stormwater is utilized as a valuable resource to fight against water scarcity, recharge groundwater and support natural vegetation. Gray infrastructure in conventional water management. A mix of gray and green infrastructure forms a hybrid system. Collaboration is need-based. Active collaborations with all stakeholders, including communities. Case study, Singapore. It is working towards becoming a zero waste nation by reducing our consumption of water and materials and reusing and recycling them to give them a second lease on life. It has been following over for decades now. Los Angeles. One Water Los Angeles has formulated a LA 2040 plan through a three-legged stool approach that ensures water quality improvement, water supply augmentation and flood risk mitigation, using recycling and reuse. Interlinks. Water management in India. Mains links, Q. Analyze the availability and usage of water in India. In the context of One Water Approach, discuss the measures that are needed for effective management of water in India. 250 words. International Year of Millets IYM 2023. Context. 2023 has been declared as IYM by the UN on a proposal by India with the aim to create awareness about the health benefits of millet. Benefits of millets: nutritional security, cheap and more nutritious. Forage ragi has the highest calcium content and high iron content and can fight the high prevalence of anemia. Climate resilient. They are known as hardy and drought resistant crops, which has to do with their economic security, low investment for inputs against health issues, Millets are gluten-free and have a low glycemic index glucose level, and therefore can help in tackling lifestyle problems and health challenges such as obesity and diabetes. Millets have antiaging and antioxidant properties. Challenges: preference for wheat is staple food. Wheat because of gluten makes softer food and is more liked. Government policies, e.g., National Food Security Act promotes wheat and rice, lack of awareness about the benefit of millet. Other challenges: lack of input subsidies and price incentives, unchanging consumer preferences. Initiatives in India, government declared in 2018 millets as nutri-cereals considering their high nutritive value and also anti-diabetic properties. The 2018 year, National Year of Millets. Increase in MSP for millets. Government has included millets in the Public Distribution System (PDS) and Poshan Abhiyan. Millet Mission under the National Food Security Mission. It will help develop farm gate processing and empower farmers using FPOS. Kerala State Agriculture Department, Millet Village Scheme, Millet Startup Innovation Challenge, a contest for designing a comic story, with the theme, India's Wealth, Millets for Health. Other initiatives for millets. SCO, India proposed to organize the Millet Food Festival 52. Insights on India. Com. Conclusion: in view of the impact of climate change and the government's aim for climate smart agriculture, millets deserves encouragement. It can also help in providing nourishment to people across all income categories and supporting climate adaptation of rain-fed sustainable farming systems. Mains links Q. Millets have enormous potential to form a core component in climate smart agriculture whilst offering nutritional and food security benefits. Elaborate. 15. Prelims link Q. Consider the following crops of India. UPSC 2012 1. Groundnut. 2. Sesamum. 3. Pearl millet. Which of the above are predominantly rain-fed crops? A 1 and 2 only, B 2 and 3 only, C 3 only, D 1, 2 and 3. Answer D. Q. Among the following, which one is the least water efficient crop? UPSC 2021 A. Sugarcane, B. Sunflower, C. Pearl millet, D. Red gram. Answer A. Indian. Context: FSG, a global consulting firm, has launched the Agritech Report 2022. What's next for Indian agri-tech? Agricultural technology, or agri-tech, is the use of technology in agriculture based on agricultural science, agronomy, and agricultural engineering. It aims to improve yield, efficiency, profitability, and sustainability of agricultural operations. Key takeaways from the report: agri-tech startups are driving India's agri-tech innovations and investment story with significant private equity inflows. Areas of focus: market linkages, agri-fintech, farm management software, remote sensing and advisory, and farm automation. Technology has irreversibly disrupted the traditional agricultural value chain, from how farmers access information and inputs to how they grow and sell their produce. As per agricultural experts, Ashok Gulati, agri-tech startups can steer the shift from government-controlled agricultural markets towards more demand-driven digital markets. Currently, it is estimated that there are about 600 to 700 agri-tech startups in India operating at different levels of agri-value chains. Many of them use artificial intelligence (AI), machine learning, milliliter, the Internet of Things (IoT), etc., to unlock the potential of big data for greater resource use efficiency, transparency, and inclusiveness. E.g. NinjaCart, DeHart, and ProFarm OTP. Impact of agri-tech startups. NinjaCart reduced wastage to 4% compared to up to 25% in traditional chains through a demand-driven harvest schedule. DeHart has enabled up to 50% increase in farmers' income as a result of savings in input costs, increased farm productivity, and better price discovery. Role of technology in agrarian changes. Other examples of the use of technology in agriculture: seed quality enhancing, high yielding varieties and genetically engineered seeds (BT cotton) lead to efficient use of pesticide, water, etc., and can increase yields. Efficiency in farm inputs, water, drip irrigation technology, use of sensors for moisture control, sprinklers for irrigation. Fertilizer and pesticide. Fertilizer sensors, drones for spraying pesticide, efficient input data. Kisan Suvidha portal, M Kisan electricity, solar powered water pumps. Insights on India. COM 53. Labor. Mechanization of harvest led to improved labor productivity. Harvest management. Pusa biodecomposer for dealing with stubble crop residue. Agricultural waste is used as input for bioethical production. Interlinks. A technology in aid of farmers. Mains link Q. Discuss the role of technology in agrarian change in India. Thus M. Indian agriculture. Issues with the current farming methods. Degradation of land, almost 30% due to overuse of chemical inputs, depletion of groundwater, polluted air, e.g., stubble burning, extreme weather events, ecological imbalance. The pace of human population growth has not been in line with the Earth's carrying capacity. What should be done? Focus on precision farming. It can give India more from less. Focus on natural and organic farming. Organic farming in India. Sikkim was declared an organic state, etc. Aath Ganga initiated a major program on natural farming along the Ganga, 5 kilometers on each side of its banks. Many states like Andhra Pradesh are also scaling up natural farming. Focus on emerging technologies. GIS, Geographical Information System, and AIML, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning can use enormous data and bring about precision in farming. Reduction of subsidies. The government's heavy subsidy, 80 to 90% subsidy on urea, can be significantly reduced. It will also help prevent water pollution due to the overuse of fertilizer. Ways we can reduce farm chemical input. The business model of the farm chemical input industry must transform to become a service industry. 10% of farm chemical input sales of each seller could be in the form of services spray on farms. Each following year, the seller would mandatorily increase the services by an additional 10%, till the business model had become one of the services contracted, and not of farm chemical inputs sold. Shopkeepers should report each sale of farm chemicals to the government in real time. Mandatory QR code on each farm chemical package. Bayer, the world's largest seed and pesticide company, has started to print a QR code on every pesticide package. An independent regulator. Safety data generated by the industry is practically taken at face value when regulatory approval is given. But volunteerism is no substitute for regulation. Natural farming. Natural farming is a chemical-free alias for traditional farming methods. It is considered an agroecology-based diversified farming system which integrates crops, trees and livestock with functional biodiversity. Concerns. Research by ICR in India shows that the adoption of natural farming yields goes down for major staple crops like wheat and rice by as much as 30 to 50%. But the yields recover back to normal levels after some time. Insta links. Zero budget natural farming, Niti Aayog, natural farming. Prelims link, Q. With reference to the circumstances in Indian agriculture, the concept of conservation agriculture assumes significance. Which of the following fall under conservation agriculture? A. Avoiding monoculture practices. 2. Adopting minimum tillage. 3. Avoiding the cultivation of plantation crops. 4. Using crop residues to cover the soil surface. 5. Adopting spatial and temporal crop sequencing, crop rotations. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A, 1, 3 and 4, B, 2, 3, 4 and 5, C, 2, 4 and 5, D, 1, 2, 3 and 5. Answer, C. Science and technology. Betting on green hydrogen to fulfill energy needs is risky. Context. As per the study published in the journal Nature Energy, green hydrogen would likely supply less than 1% of final energy globally by 2035. What is green hydrogen? 54 Insights on India. Com. Hydrogen, when produced by electrolysis using renewable energy, is known as green hydrogen, which has no carbon footprint. Challenges for green hydrogen. Low investment, low stage of technology for sustainable production. The challenges in ramping up the supply of electrolyzers, a device in which green hydrogen is produced. Electrolysis capacity is still tiny compared to where we need to be in 2050 for net zero emission scenarios. Recommendations. Implementing strong policies could reverse the setbacks. Fostering green hydrogen growth will therefore require strong dedication, coordination, and funding along the entire value chain. Carbon pricing should always form the basis of climate policy. Carbon pricing is a policy tool that puts a tax on producers of greenhouse gas emissions, accelerating the rollout of crucial zero carbon technologies like electric mobility and heat pumps. These technologies make more efficient use of scarce renewable electricity. Significance for green hydrogen. India, being a tropical country, has a significant edge in green hydrogen production due to its favorable geographical conditions and abundant natural resources. Producing hydrogen from renewables in India is likely to be cheaper than producing it from natural gas. Efforts in this regard. 1. National Hydrogen Mission increase production to 5 million metric tons MMT by 2030 to meet about 40% of domestic requirements. 2. Green hydrogen and green ammonia policy that offers 25 years of free power for any new renewable energy plants set up for green hydrogen production before July 2025. Theme. EU set a target of achieving 10 million tons of domestic renewable hydrogen production. Insta links. Green hydrogen. Safe harbor. Context. US and India are looking to remove special protection available to social media platforms called Safe Harbor. What is Safe Harbor? In the US, social media companies enjoy special protection under the US, the Communications Decency Act CDA. It is similar to Section 79 of India's Information Technology Act, 2000, which classifies social media platforms as intermediaries and broadly shields them from legal action based on content users post on their platforms. Both these regulations offer social media platforms something called a safe harbor. Rationale behind safe harbor: since platforms cannot control at the first instance what users post on their site, they should not be held legally liable for any objectionable content they host as long as they agree to take such content down when flagged by the government or various courts. Although tech platforms can help keep us connected, create a vibrant marketplace of ideas, and open up new opportunities for bringing products and services to market, they can also divide us and wreak serious real world harms.